Welcome to the Wealth BuildHERS podcast, the women entrepreneurs' home for building successful businesses that generate passive income. You have entered a judgment-free zone, so give yourself permission to shake off all the things you haven't done, because your journey to owning a thriving business you love starts right now. Here we go now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wealth BuildHERS podcast. Today, we are here with Miss Christa Elyce with Houston Studio. Hey, Christa.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And this is really exciting. You are my first podcast ever, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm a super fan of podcasts. I listen to them. And to be on one, I'm now like, whoa, I'm one of those. I'm next.
Yes. So we're super excited to have you on the show. So actually, I want to start with Camille before we get into your story, Christa. Camille, you met Christa, which is how I get all of my connections, because Camille Davis is like the networker extraordinaire. And I think that you met Christa several years ago. Is that right?
I know that when I had my third baby, I remember because it was 4th of July and she invited us over to her house. And I have my little baby, I have a picture of Sydney, who's number 3, I have 4. And she was only probably 18 months old. So she was sitting on my lap and had a little baby. So I know it was a while ago. Sydney is now 12.
Oh my gosh.
So it was 11 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
And I think I hadn't even started real estate then. Was I in real estate?
Yes,
then?
I remember very vividly. You were like, this is what I do. And I was like, wow, she's a boss bitch. I want to like,
right.
I love that.
Love it. So I had just started, actually, because I think Sydney was a baby, and Sydney must have been about 1.5 years when I was at your house. So she was like maybe 3 months old when I really got into it. So yes, I did have homes by then.
Well, you're like a silent killer though, Camille. You're like, oh, I just do this. I just do that. And what you come to find out is that you're like this empress of like a hustler doing all kinds of amazing things. And so, yeah, you definitely, I knew there was like something under that exterior, like your super sweet exterior, which you are like, but there's like so much hustle. There's like so much knowledge in there.
Yeah.
I'm just figuring that out as I go. And I'm of course more confident now than I was then, but I am a little quiet and, just
no, you're not.
Exterior.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, let's talk about the opposite. Let's talk about Christa not being a calm, quiet exterior. She is fire on the outside, fire on the inside. So Christa, tell us about you and how you started on your entrepreneurial journey.
I think, and my story is really one of those that I feel like it might be something that a lot of women face is, we do things when we are faced with extreme like situations such as divorce or being, our husband's passed or something to that effect, where we are just surviving. And that's really how it kind of started. I actually haven't shared that. This is ever. I try not to give energy to that negative part, but like it really did start from not knowing what I was going to do. What was the next step? I had just gotten divorced, and it was my first, and I had 2 kids, and I didn't know. So out of just survival tactics, I had a camera. I'm gonna go and just photograph the heck out of everybody I knew at church. And I honestly didn't even know it could be a business. And I had people at that point going, I'll just give you $100 for this. I'm like, okay. But that's something. I was living with my father again with my 2 kids. And so that really started the entrepreneurial side of it. I was doing weddings for $100 an hour. I mean, you can never find that deal, not even on Craigslist anymore. Like I was on Craigslist. I was Craigslisting my photography skills out. So yeah, that's really where it began. You do what you have to do to get the portfolio that you need. And that's for pretty much every industry is, having the experience, having the portfolio to be able to ask for the money that you want, that you feel you are valued at. So little by little, a couple of years went by and I started doing a lot more market research and going, hey, man, my work is just as good as such and such. I guess I could start charging a lot more. The going rate at this point was like $450 an hour, $500. And so I started pricing it out and started offering the same things and sourcing out things. And it really became one of those things where it kind of grew on its own, but I didn't really know what I was doing really, that I just knew what I had to do. And it just came, I feel that it came naturally because I never questioned it for any anxiety about it. I just loved what I was doing and it stuck. I've never done anything else other than photography and marketing and branding. So that was
how did it morph into the branding though? Because I knew you when you were doing photography.
Yeah.
And how did it switch to let me build your brand, let me
I know.
build your website?
Very interesting because I, as a wedding photographer and doing a lot of courses and education myself, I trying to learn as much as I could. I noticed people starting to use the word branding and I was like, what is that? Because I knew that there were certain photographers that whose style or their websites or something about when I visited their website really stuck out to me and it resonated. And I was like, oh, I love this. I love their whole aesthetic. I love what's coming back. And then I realized that is a brand, not only just the way that the logo looks or the photography, it was the process behind it, the way that they took care of their clientele. That's part of the brand, the quality. And then afterwards, working with the client, that's part of the brand and that brand experience. So sometimes I work with people that are saying, oh, I need a new logo, I need a new this, but I want to take them a further back and go, do we have all the right things set in stone where you have a pricing, you have structural stuff, or who are you sourcing with? Like, what are you bringing to the table for your clients? Because you want them to essentially like come back to you or use you and build that relationship for, long term. So the branding side of things really kind of just developed as I was developing my wedding photography business. And I didn't really rebrand too often. I knew that I liked what I liked. And then as people started taking notice, I became an award-winning wedding photographer. People were asking me to come to their events, to be a part of their events. And I realized that my brand was catching on and I was staying very, very busy. So when I was able to, when people knew what they were getting because the brand was very cohesive, then it became very, very popular, very on demand. And I knew that I was onto something. So people started seeing that and they wanted a little bit of help with that. So I worked with a lot of companies early on as a wedding photographer, helping them develop their brand, helping other photographers develop their brand. And another thing that happened was I was working with a lot of brides and I connect a lot with the women from my wedding days. And still a lot of them are my friends and we're friends on Facebook, but they were evolving from their wedding to having children to going back into the career field. So they needed new headshots and they needed new, if they were starting an entrepreneur themselves, to be entrepreneurs themselves, they wanted to have branding content. And that became really big in around 2014, I would say, around there, the branding content became huge. We didn't have to buy stock photography from wherever stock photography was. We could make custom stock photography, to our business. And so that's kind of how it evolved. Again, not kind of like by accident, but I really, really loved it. And it just kind of flowed with who I am. I'm all about that girl power. I mean, I had a Spice Girls poster in my room since I was 14. I love Spice Girls.
I love it. So the way that we connected with you, or at least that I did, sounds like Camille started with your photography side like years ago when you were just doing photography. The way that I connected with you was that Camille and I were building a real estate, this Wealth BuildHERS brand for the show. And so the point that I'm trying to make to our audience is that if you're an entrepreneur and you're building any kind of business in the Houston area, Christa can help you with that, because we're doing podcasts, real estate investing, coaching. There are all kinds of things that go hand in hand with Camille with real estate that Christa, like you set us up for like so perfectly with like the aesthetic board, the logo, all of the things like that we needed to do to go with the brand. So do you specialize in any particular type of business, or is there pretty much any woman that has a business can like come to you and say, I need help?
Right. So typically what I like to do, because I love finding out new things. I grew up all over the world, but I was an Army brat. So for me, like learning new, exciting things, stuff I didn't know about, it really just invigorates me. And so I love learning about people's businesses. Not only like I feel as if their business and knowing what they do and how they structure things also helps me with my business. And so when I meet with someone new, and I don't know their industry, I want to establish and understand the best of what they do. So are they business to business? Are they direct to clients? Are they a product? Are we doing e-commerce? So what exactly do they need? And I do a complete discovery and audit of their business. What do we have? Where do we develop this? What's the aesthetic? So I want to make sure that before we ever get to the photo shoot, like that's like the cherry on top, that we have certain things in line. And a lot of this stuff is, boring stuff. I'm going to be honest. It's really boring. It's like, are you registered? Do you have this? Do you have that? I want to coach them into a place where they're comfortable and know what their brand is, because that's going to help them further down the road than anything else. Establishing your brand is going to be one of the number one tools you'll always use moving forward. And so I don't specialize in one business. I was talking about this last night at a workshop that I put on. I met with a client. And she's a good friend now, like she's over every other day. She has an Airbnb business, and her business, she really hadn't thought about a lot of stuff, but she did know she wanted to have a YouTube channel and teach other people to have their own Airbnbs. So in my head, I'm already thinking for her what this shot list looks like. I'm thinking we've got to, talk about cleaning. We got to do this. We got to do that. I did not know that she already had an established YouTube channel. It just wasn't branded. So after I got off the call with her, I went on her YouTube channel. I watched every single video that she's ever made over the last 3 years. I was now obsessed. I now know a lot about Airbnbs, probably more than I want to, more about like clients and people that book and, things that are just crazy. But it really helped me when I went into the photo shoot and helped her with branding projects down the road, what kind of things she needed to address. So it really doesn't matter what business it is. I've worked in the oil and gas and medical and dental and all kinds of stuff, craft, arts. And I just like try to learn who your target audience is, what your aesthetic is, and what are your business goals. That way I can help you achieve that through your images. And most times it's about, it's optics. It's about getting you to the place that you want to be and not where you're actually are at.
That is so true. And I think I remember the photo shoot you showed us from the lady who did the Airbnb one.
Oh yeah.
The sample that we used, because it's so closely related to what we were doing in real estate investing. And I think sometimes in real estate investing, people underestimate the power of marketing and having a brand. When you're trying to sell yourself as an investor to private lenders, or you're trying to, build your audience so that you can get other investors to like go in on a deal with you. if you are established and you look good, like your brand is really well put together, then it really goes a lot better for you. You just have a professional look. It's really clean. The work that you do is really crisp. The photo shoot was so much fun. Camille and I really enjoyed it. That was like such a fun day.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And you're so good at it. Like you had us bring props. You had us do things that would bring out our personality, and then also we felt really comfortable. I felt comfortable, and so it just made it fun. Something that's really actually stressful for me, very stressful for me. You kind of took that load off and made me feel like, oh, this is fun. Like,
Yes.
Enjoyable.
Yeah, it really should be. That's really one of my biggest things when I go into a photo shoot. And when people work with me, and that's been something that they've said back to me, is you've made it fun and it was easy. And I didn't even have to worry about posing because you pose us so well. It's, it's professional, it's strong. I understand your brand, or, help you develop that at that point. So that way, it is fun. You're not really thinking about anything or going, shoot, I wish I had brought that, or darn, so we've already thought about all those things ahead of time. We have a lot to work with. We can cover a lot of different topics visually that you would use. And, I usually do that by going through the website that you have and going, where can we, what does the contact page need to look like? Let's have an image for that. Like, what is the about page? What is the services page? Making sure that you have visuals on that, and having unique stock photography for your company actually does help your SEO in Google ratings. So, getting yourself to the top organically of the Google, it's hard to do, but, there's little things you can do by having unique stock photography, because Google's going to crawl to it. And, making sure you name your the photos, something in the general vicinity of what you do. So like real estate _ KC Living, or, Wealth BuildHERS. So that really does help. And that way, when people go into Google Images, real estate, Houston, that's one of the things that comes up. You're putting yourself up there with your imagery or videos that you have, you're in the search. So that's definitely one of the things I try to keep in mind when I'm going into the photo shoots.
I was gonna say, I know my husband, so we just hired you to help us, me and my husband, on a separate brand, right, by ourselves. And he is geeking out on all of it. So he's going to your Instagram, and it shows, how do you set up your Instagram page, or how do you brand it so it looks good? So he went step by step, put in all the Instagram things that you had recommended to do. And then, you're doing the website for us. And so you can help us on social media, you can help us on website, you can help us on pictures. And I mean, it's been amazing. Like, even when we first started, we realized that the LLC name was already taken, and we thought it wasn't. And so then we had to shift, and you helped us do that. And then there's also that thing where you have that attorney. It's not patented, but what's the name?
Trademarking.
Yes.
That's right. That's really become a huge part of Houston Studio, as well, is because I'm in the business industry of helping, business developing, having the connections to be able to get you and other businesses to legitimize your business through registration and trademarking. That's going to protect your business further down the road. You're going to work your butt off doing everything you do, building your empire, to find out someone's sending you a cease and desist because you have a same name or similar name, that it's getting confused amongst your similar target market. So I recommend Akaway Law. She is amazing attorney. She is my business attorney, and she helps with all of that and making sure that she, really looks out for you and your business, helps with contracts as well. That's really important. So I definitely recommend making sure before you even go into, if you're coming up with the name for your company and you go into uspto.gov, not .com, uspto.gov, look and search the database. Make sure that your name's not taken already, because you don't want to have to do a rebrand. That's where I come in further down the road, and that's more expensive. You're going to spend anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 doing a rebrand on your business, all because you didn't start with, making sure that your name's not already taken and you haven't trademarked already.
Yes.
So I highly recommend that before, when you're starting your business.
Yeah. So you're really kind of this one-stop shop, really. Like for
If I don't know how to do it myself, I will find you somebody who knows how to do it.
We have a truck that we want to get the logo on and the brand on, and we're like, do you know someone that wraps trucks? And so then you refer somebody that does that. So you kind of have connections.
Oh yeah.
Renee said I'm a connection person. Christa Elyce is a connection person. Yes, but I keep interrupting. Go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, no, I had a question, actually, a couple of things. So the podcast will likely be picked up around the world. Like we end up with listeners kind of everywhere across the globe, but not everybody is in Houston and they can't directly come to you for headshots. Are there some other things that you can help with if a person lives in Alaska or if they live in Europe? Can they work with you, or is there a checklist of items that maybe they can take to their local person and say, can you help me with these particular items for my branding?
Absolutely. I love this question, because this is pretty much the expansion of Houston studio. So what I love is that I do get the opportunity to work with a lot of non-Houstonians. I've worked internationally as well as out of state here domestically. They do sometimes if it's products, they send it to me and I'll photograph. But my other services also are very digital. So they don't have to be here and I don't have to be there. I do websites, I can do logo design, I can do brand design. So we'll go over everything. That could be also virtual. There's copywriting that we also do for websites and for other elements for marketing brochures. So really everything, it's on my website, HoustonStudio.com, that we have a list of our services, and a majority of them, other than the production and photography, those are all really ones you can do satellite, from anywhere. So that's awesome.
Okay, that is so helpful.
Yeah.
And then the other question that I have for you is about a team. Is it just you, Christa, or do you have assistants, other photographers? Who else is on your team?
Yes. Okay. So I love this because I just talked about this last night. I realized a long time ago, I cannot do this on my own. And I'm especially not good at everything, so I think the most important thing as a business owner is to realize and delegate, realize that you're not going to be the person that's going to do everything. You're not good at everything as much as you want to be. I struggle with that. I want to be perfect at everything, but I can't because there's not enough time to allow it. And so I started delegating a lot of my work to people that specialize in that. So Houston Studio has a brand coordinator. We have a brand consultant. Her name is Chavez. We have a social media director. She handles a lot of our accounts. She does Instagram and Facebook and you name it. She does post and engagement and your Google My Business, which is super important as well as doing the engagement on your social media. So going to other people in your target audience and going, hey, that's you did really awesome there, showing up that way. And then if you have a bad review, she makes sure that she handles that as well, because you do have to respond to those. You can't just let it fly. You have to really get in there and be responsible. We also have someone that does, her name is Fee. She does brand packaging and web design. So if your company, let's say if you do cookies and you love these boxes and you want to figure out how you can make that part of your brand and deliver cookies in these branded boxes, she does the whole thing. It's packaging and wraps and things like that. So it's really, there's a lot that goes into it. And also, I'm really proud to say this, my daughter just got on payroll on Monday. So she's really happy. She worked in the restaurant industry since the beginning of summer, and she was over it. And I knew I knew it wouldn't be long, but I was really glad that she did it, because I've been asking her to utilize her talents and to work with me. And I think sometimes you just have to try something else to realize I have a pretty cushy job waiting for me at home. So, and then I also outsource quite a lot. I have 2 VAs, and they really help. VAs are virtual assistants, and they really help me a lot in doing tasks that I would have spent literally a month trying to do. And they know how to do that. And it's usually, can you update the website here? Can you fix this little glitch there? Can you help me with my newsletter? Can you do this? So things like that, to help with automation. Oh my gosh, it's so worth its weight in gold. So yeah, I definitely can't do it by myself at all.
I'm so proud of you for delegating and getting help. Oh,
it's hard.
Gosh.
I think it's one of the hardest things to do as a business owner. I don't know if it's a woman thing, because we want to do it all ourselves, or if that's just a normal thing for everyone. And then, or the too many hats, like you're the bookkeeper, you're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the, the secretary, so I think it's really important to learn. Renee actually helped to teach me a lot of that.
I love
Renee helped get me what would you call her? An administrative assistant. She helped me get somebody on the team, and she's really good at, it was funny when she first met me at my business. She was asking me all these questions. Most people ask me all these questions like, oh, well, how do you do real estate? And they want to know about real estate. So then they're trying to get into all the details. So then that's kind of what I started telling her. But then I realized, I'm like, oh, she just wants to know how my business functions.
Yeah,
like she just wants to know
run your business.
Who does what?
And Camille was doing everything. She was all the people you just named, Christa. Camille was all of those people.
I've been there.
Yes.
I know.
I still do way too much. I still need another assistant. I'm actually going to just I'm going to transition that when school starts again. But yeah, just different minds. I think you and Chris, so Renee and Christa Elyce kind of remind me of each other in that, like, they can take any person, any business, they can like grab all the details really, really quickly, which is really a talent to do that, to see the big picture and then to like funnel it down into like workable steps and like processes. Like that is a management like gift, like genius, to be able to just plug the holes, like solve the problem. It's amazing. It's amazing to me that you guys do that.
Absolutely. I love that. I actually enjoy when my friends come over and we just talk about each other's business. And when I hear that they have, this is bothering me, this is irritating, this keeps happening. And I love taking those things and going, well, how can we solve that? And, one time my girlfriend, Airbnb, and she keeps coming up in this one because there was a lot of holes, and she really wanted some help, but she had an issue with her cleaning lady. And as you have Airbnbs yourself, Camille, that you really rely on your cleaning people.
Oh, they are number one. Number one is the cleaning person. They are your head of that business. Yes. Yeah.
They make or break it. Like you can't function without it. You can try to clean yourself, but you're going to break your back. Mm-hmm. And you got other things to do. Why do the 10% jobs? You have someone else do it. So she was talking about this, and I said, she wasn't really happy with her. She'd been working with her for a year. She's slacking. She's doing this. And I said, have you created a standards guide, of operations? Like, do you have that? She's like, what? I was like, well, if you're planning on growing your business any bigger, you're going to have more Airbnbs. And then at that point, you're not going to be able to have a conversation all the time. So you should have like a checklist standards of what needs to happen for each one of your Airbnbs. I mean, her mind went boom. I mean, the emoji and everything, I could see it. she was like, oh my gosh, that is growth. That does help. So now she does that for everything. She's like, she questions it. What would Christa say? Like, okay, we have a problem, let's fix it. But it does come from you being a CEO. You have to look at yourself and say, okay, there's a problem here. It's not the maid, it's really you. Sorry, Claire. But yeah, it really is you. And so sometimes I've had those issues where it's hard to look at yourself and go, man, that's on me. You know, it's easy to go, nah, that's you, you know? So yeah, that's one of the things I've learned about that.
Yeah, so true. Any business,
Yeah.
you're the one that gets in the way. I would say 90% of the 90, maybe 100% of the time, it's really you getting in the way because you're afraid to get someone else to do it, or maybe they won't do as good a job as you could do.
Yeah, when I learned how to scale, I had to go through a master's class and to kind of learn how to delegate. Honestly, I feel that, and my daughter and my husband will probably attest to this, I'm kind of a little OCD on some things. I mean, my shoes are in cases, like and they're labeled. You can see them, but I still need to label them. So when it comes to things like that, I really realized I'm trying to do everything. I was having like anxiety about like, I can't really help my client because I've got to do this other thing. I've got to do this other thing. And I learned through this masterclass that I need to be okay with someone. If someone can do 80% of a good job as I think I can, then I need to let it go. That was like my emoji moment, like, boom, okay, I have to be okay with it. Then I can train them the other 15, 20% to how I would do it. Mm-hmm. That was really one of the parts that I had to let go of is when it came to the delegation. And now I have more time to make more sales. I have more time to work on my craft. I have more time to balance my family and be home with them. I love cooking in the evening for the family. So that allows me not to, do it with, animosity and like, I got to cook and clean, I actually enjoy it. So it's been a great transition for me since I've really let some of that go for myself.
Yeah. I actually have two things to say about that. The first one is your business won't grow if you're doing everything. So if you're like thinking, I want to grow and scale this business, then you're actually doing the opposite by holding on, like doing everything yourself. You're stifling the growth of your business because one person can only do so much. And so we have to own the fact that we really need to get good help, which is hard to find. But once you take whatever processes you need to take to find good help, whether it's, getting someone else to hire those people for you or whatever you need to do, like hire really good help. And once you do it, it's done. And then you can move on. So then you can grow. So you can do like your highest and best use of your time. Like your dollar productive time is worth so much more. And so for you to be doing everything is just not good. Then the second thing is that everything that you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. So if you're saying yes to cleaning your own Airbnbs or packaging your own products, then you're saying no to going to my kid's soccer game, or I'm saying no to spending time with my husband or my significant other, or my spouse, because I'm saying yes to all of these things that I really should hire somebody for. And so that's where the mindset as entrepreneurs, as women, we feel like we need to do everything, but you've got to shift your mindset. And Christa, you kind of alluded to being a CEO of your business, like you almost kind of went down that rabbit trail. But I want to talk about that. Like you have to, even if it's a small business with like you and one other person, like you're the CEO. Can you talk to us about the mentality that you've seen that with women that you work with on that?
Absolutely. That was definitely a struggle from coming from, I started this business. It's a startup. And I'm a founder. What's my title? And I really was hustling it, as it was Christa Elyse photography for such a long time, a one woman show. And, you kind of get stuck in that mindset. And when I realized that I am not running my business like a CEO, I'm not running it to the scale I want it to be, I need to start thinking like that. It really happened. I feel that it happened somewhat overnight, where I think I listened to a podcast, something like this, where I was like, oh my goodness, I have been doing this wrong. I have dreams of this, but like, I don't know how how do I get there? And for me to start delegating, that's when you started putting yourself in the CEO realm. You're running the business. You're not being a part of the business. Like, you're a part of it. Like, I don't know how do I say this? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're
not in the business.
You're not in the business. Thank you.
You're above the business. Like, right. So you are running it.
You're running
and not in the weeds. But you're above the business.
Right. Exactly. Being in the business, you're going to break your back trying to do it all on your own. But, running it, working with different people that you have to work with, delegating, now you're at the CEO's status. You can put yourself there. But all for like the founders, you can, I was there for a long time. Founding is where you are doing it on your own. You are like laying down the groundwork. That's great. Everyone's there.
It's just a process, right? You have to learn how to do it yourself before you can teach somebody else how to do it.
Oh yeah.
And then there is something about saying I'm the CEO, right? There is something about like saying I'm a real estate investor, or I am. Renee did it. I know, I like that. Renee did it to me when we went to our first women's group meeting, and she had a little slideshow about me, and she's like, real estate developer,
right.
project, or like, she had all these huge titles, and I started saying those, and I was like, is that me? Right. And then when you hear it and you say it and you think, yeah, I do that. Yeah. So there's something that transforms in your mind.
Definitely.
That makes you behave a certain way. And
I think you're absolutely right. And I see this a lot with my clients, being that I work with so many businesses, and especially women-owned businesses. They suffer from the imposter syndrome. We self-doubt. We are going, am I though? Am I, and we, second question ourselves, are we really there? But when we have people, we notice people are starting to gravitate to our knowledge, we realize that we do have a lot to offer. And even last night when I was at the workshop and people are doing the Q&A section, and I had already introduced myself multiple times, but they're asking really CEO type questions, and I was able to answer every one of them. I'm going, I did know that. Oh, wow. I'm impressing myself. Like, I knew these things, and the process of things, and how to, it was just really, it's eye-opening. I feel like even when you get to the CEO status, you're still going to go, oh man, I'm here. It's eye-opening. Like, I'm still here, So it's definitely a mindset that you have to place yourself there. And usually other people will tell you that's where you are. Like, that's where you are at now. So that's what happened with you. I think you're like, I guess I am, because I'm not like here. I'm like here, but you definitely you get to that point where you realize that that's where you're at.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So Camille, I keep telling Camille she's Beyonce of Destiny's Child. And she's like, yes, I kind of am. Yes, I kind of am.
Oh, I wish.
You're like the rock star of real estate investing, and you don't. Yeah, you're so unassuming and so mild mannered and sweet.
Right?
People don't know. You said she's got this empress of real estate. She's got this empire going. She's got all the things. So Camille, give me a quick list. I think you've got 5 businesses that you're running now that are real estate related. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess I have technically 12, but yes, 5 that are like the main 5 that are the main operating. Yeah, because we did start a handyman company. It's actually morphing into a remodeling, design your home type company. We've ran into some amazing designers, and I think that just puts us to the next level.
Yeah.
So I have a team of workers underneath me. Like if it's a high-end remodel, I have the contractor for that. If it's a investor flip remodel because you want to stay in a budget, I've got the investor or the team for that. And so it's been really fun. And then of course my husband's a real estate agent now, so we've got that side where we can come remodel your home so that you can sell it. Like we'll put the money in, we'll get paid at closing. It's because a lot of people don't have the money to put in to fix up their home. So, and I love it because Christa, when she was helping us do this website, she's like, yes, you are like the concierge. Again, the word thing.
Concierge service.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun just to get to a certain level. And then that's where the Wealth BuildHERS comes in, is let's share the wealth. Let's bring in other women. Let's teach them. We don't even have to teach them. We just have to awaken in them this, because all of us are powerful. All of us have different gifts, and we just don't even realize how much impact we have and how much we know and how good we are at what we do. And we just have to hone in on those things that we're good at. Like I'm way different than Christa Elyce. Like I would have a hard time going and making someone's business look beautiful. But I can go make a house look beautiful. And honestly, I don't even do that. The designers do that. And my workers do that. I just go find the house and find the person. And then Renee is like, she's Oprah Winfrey. I mean, she's like the podcast, like perfect interviewer, and she's also a business consultant, that just has this gift. So I think we just find our gifts, find what you love, find what makes you happy, what energizes you. And you just go and let's all empower each other. Let's all help each other. Just
be each other's hype girl. Yeah.
So, Christa Elyce, you have children. You mean to tell me that you can actually be a successful entrepreneur, a CEO, you can own and run a business, and you can be a mom at the same time? That's doable?
It is doable. It is doable. It's doable at a pace. And in seasons, I mean to say that my daughter, my son, and my youngest Molly, she, when they were younger, it meant taking maybe maybe I take a little bit of break, a 3-month break, just to be able to spend that time that I want with them, but scheduling to come back at a pace that I can enjoy without resentment. Resentment towards my family, resentment towards my business, my passion. And so really it's so doable. One of the things that I, as a photographer in that stage of my life, there was always how do I say this? Outsourcing. So outsourcing my editing or outsourcing certain elements of my business. So that way I could spend time with my family. There are always ways to do that. And it's really about time management. If I couldn't finish what I needed to do during the week, I had to set boundaries to make sure that my weekends are mine. That's what I do now. So I never work on the weekends, and I don't work past 5 o'clock on the weekdays. And I love that. But being in the wedding industry, and if any wedding industry people are listening to this, they do not have weekends available. And I missed a lot of my kids' life during that time. I photographed 40 weddings a year for at least 10 years. And so that's a lot of weekends. I've actually missed birthdays because of that. And so I recommend making sure that you make sure you're aware of your time, especially if you're balancing that. Now, if you're single and you're doing your own thing, you can have all the time in the world, go and make that money. Honestly, this is the time to do it and make sure that you're starting to already start thinking about scaling, so that way, when you're ready to build that family, and balance that life that you want to have, then you have that availability, because that's not always going to work from day in, day out, like down the road.
Yeah.
You want to retire too. That's the plan.
Yes. I'm so glad you went there, because that's my last question.
About retirement?
Heat it up for me. So well, not necessarily retirement, but being able to exit your business, but still have like some passive income coming in. Because I know for Camille and I, like real estate investing is passive income. You still make money. Like Camille only has to buy or, subject to, or get the house once. Once she has the deed to that property and she owns it, you can put renters in there, and barring some maintenance, you will get paid on that for the rest of your life. But with entrepreneurs, it's kind of hard to see that if it's not a hard asset, like a real estate, like a house. But as an entrepreneur, Christa Elyse, it sounds like you've built a business where you've got all these people in place. You're making money on some things that you're not actually doing physically yourself, which is supposed to happen as an entrepreneur. You should be making money on social media, even though you're not the person like physically commenting on things. So you're building a passive like income business as well, right? So you retire, I guess, you could step away from your business and it would still make money. Even if that meant hiring a junior photographer or, something else. So can you talk to us a bit about that?
Absolutely. And it's part of the reason also, and I'll touch on this, that I named the company Houston Studio. Not only does it have built-in SEO, but it also isn't my name. I am not going to be, hopefully, I love Houston Studio, but the game plan is to, build something that somebody else might want to buy later down the road, so thinking about that, initially, it's so important. Where's the game plan for this? And so anyone essentially could run Houston Studio, and last night was a workshop, but it also was a recruiting process for me as well, because I had 55 photographers and videographers show up at this workshop, and each of them got to learn something that how I do stuff. So training and recruitment, so I really want to pair businesses that have a certain bold aesthetic or whatever their aesthetic is for their production, their marketing productions, making sure that they're paired with the right creative, whatever that creative art is. So we're doing that. I'm like the Jerry Maguire of creatives. Show me the money. So I'm brokeraging out their services and helping them make those connections too with businesses, and also making sure that they get the rate that they want to be paid. Of course, as I have a fee on top of that, as I'm handling the account, making sure the whole branding aesthetic is carried out, making sure the quality is there. But and basically translating from business to artist, since I speak both languages, how to do that. And so when it comes to the passive income, that's kind of how I've been able to do that, is through what is your need? Okay, let me find someone that could help you with that. And then getting my cut from that. So honestly, it's really some quite similar. And there's a way to do that, I'm sure, with every business. You just have to think hard enough of how to do it.
Girl, you just said a mouthful, honey.
Oh. I know, I'm sorry, that was a mouthful.
That was so good. That helped so many people on so many levels. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, that's something it took me a long time to learn. I'm like, I have to be there. I have to be at every photo shoot. I have to be the person that takes the pictures. I don't. And I'm not every business's photography taste either. Let me help you find that person, because a lot of times they're under a rock. They don't know how to market themselves. But you know what? Houston Studio does. We know how to put ourselves out there. We know how to teach. We know how to market, brand, and everything. So I'm helping both sides. I'm helping the businesses and I'm helping the creatives. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, with that mic drop moment, just tell us how to do. I want to learn how to do what you do. Tell me where I can find you.
You can find Houston Studio at Houston Studio _ on Instagram. Our website is houstonstudio.com. And our email is book@houstonstudio.com. So I think that's everywhere.
Awesome. Christa Elyse, you are so wonderful. You have been so good. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode. Come back soon for more tools, resources, and great stories from successful women entrepreneurs. We believe you absolutely can build a business you love and have passive income. Until next time, thank you for listening.